Imagine waking up in a home that no longer feels like your own. You're no longer in charge of your morning routine. Your meals are decided by someone else. And even your quiet time has to be scheduled around a bustling household. You thought moving in with your adult children after 70 would bring you comfort, connection, and security, but instead it slowly starts to chip away at your independence, your finances, and, heartbreakingly, your relationships. Take Frank, for example. At 73, he sold the house he'd lived in for decades and moved in with his daughter Elaine and her family. It seemed like the perfect decision at the time. The house was too big for one person, and he was struggling to maintain it. But within months, things started to change. Frank had little privacy, felt like a guest in his own daughter's home, and began watching his once strong relationship with Elaine turn cold. Even worse, the proceeds from the home sale were gone, absorbed into household expenses he never planned for. This isn't just Frank's story. It's a reality playing out for millions of older adults, and it often begins with the best intentions. But what if I told you that moving in with your adult children might be one of the biggest mistakes you could make after 70? This video is not here to scare you. It's here to empower you. Because the truth is, most seniors don't discover the real consequences of this decision until it's too late. So please stay with me till the end. I'm going to walk you through 5 critical, often hidden dangers of moving in with your adult children, and more importantly, what to do instead to stay protected, independent, and happy. Shall we begin? Section 1. Financial disaster. The hidden cost of moving in. Let's go back to Frank and Elaine. They were both in their early 70s when they decided to sell their longtime home and move in with their son and daughter-in-law. At the time, it felt like a win-win. The kids needed help with the grandkids, and Frank figured the proceeds from their home, nearly $300,000, could be used to build a separate wing on their son's new house. No rent, no utilities, just family helping family. But within 2 years, the money was gone. Not on vacations or frivolous spending, but on extras, upgrades to the home, shared grocery bills, daycare contributions, and a new car to help everyone get around. Frank had stopped keeping track. There was no clear line anymore between what was theirs and what was everyone's. And when tensions flared, because they always do in tight quarters, Frank and Elaine realized something terrifying. They had nowhere else to go. This isn't just a one-off story. According to the National Center on Elder Abuse, financial exploitation is one of the most common forms of elder abuse, and much of it happens within the family. The lines between generosity and manipulation blur quickly when money and emotions mix under one roof. One overlooked danger is commingling finances. Parents might start by contributing to groceries or utilities, and then slowly get pulled into larger household expenses. Retirement funds get used up faster than expected. In worse cases, adult children convince their aging parents to add them to bank accounts or property deeds, claiming it's for ease of management, only to later misuse that access. Actionable advice. If you're over 70 and considering moving in with your children, never combine financial accounts. Your retirement funds, property, and savings should remain entirely separate. It's not about distrust, it's about protection. Before making any decisions, especially selling a home or changing ownership, consult an elder law attorney. They're trained to recognize the red flags and can help set up legal safeguards like living trusts, power of attorney agreements with limits, or care contracts that keep everyone on the same page. Remember, good intentions can turn into irreversible consequences if you're not protected. So what's the alternative? Instead of moving in, consider downsizing into a smaller home or apartment that's close to your children, but still your own space. This allows you to stay connected while keeping your autonomy. Another great option is looking into senior co-housing or retirement communities that provide safety, companionship, and support without depending on your children financially or emotionally. Frank once said, "I thought I was giving my kids a gift by moving in, but I didn't realize I was giving away the last bit of control I had over my life." Let his story be a warning, not a prophecy, because at this stage of life, your financial independence isn't just about money, it's about dignity. Section 2. Loss of independence, the silent health killer. Let's talk about something people rarely associate with health: independence. When Victor, a retired school principal in his mid-70s, moved in with his daughter after his wife passed away, everyone praised the decision. "You'll never be lonely," they said. "She'll take care of you." And at first it felt comforting. But within a month, Victor stopped attending his morning walks. He didn't make his coffee the way he liked it anymore. His daughter had her own routine, her own meals, her own preferences. Slowly, Victor began to feel like a guest in what was supposed to be his new home. He didn't want to be a bother, so he stopped asking for small things. He sat quietly through family dinners, unsure when it was okay to speak up. Eventually, he even began missing his regular checkups, relying on his daughter to schedule them, but never wanting to seem demanding. Within 8 weeks, his cheerful confidence faded. He became withdrawn, sluggish, and lost in his own thoughts. This is what experts call relational dependence erosion. According to Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, a geriatric psychologist specializing in autonomy loss, when older adults lose control over daily decisions, when to eat, what to wear, when to go out, it can trigger a quiet psychological decline. It's not just about freedom, it's about identity. And identity matters deeply at this stage of life. When you've spent decades deciding for yourself what to eat, when to sleep, how to spend your day, and suddenly you're fitting into someone else's system, it chips away at your sense of self-worth. What's worse, the loss of autonomy can directly affect cognitive health. A recent study from the Journal of Aging Research showed that seniors who experience a sudden change in living environment and decision-making control are more likely to show signs of memory decline and depression within 3 to 6 months. Victor is not alone. This happens quietly. You might not even notice it until the spark fades and the world seems a little duller each day. Actionable advice. Instead of moving in with your children, look for living arrangements that support autonomy while offering care and security. Independent living communities now offer tailored support, meals, transportation, medical assistance, without removing your freedom to choose. Another wise step, even if you're not ready to make a move yet, start researching these communities. Visit them, walk through, ask questions. Knowing your options keeps you in control of your future instead of waiting until you're forced to choose under pressure. Small things can protect your independence. Having your own room and key, keeping your routine intact, having the freedom to cook, read, or walk without asking permission. Because independence isn't just a lifestyle, it's a lifeline. Victor eventually moved into a senior apartment complex that offered daily yoga and gardening clubs. Within a month, his energy returned. He laughed more. He started writing again. All he needed was a space of his own, where he could just be himself. So ask yourself, are you choosing convenience? Or are you surrendering the most valuable asset you have left, your independence? Section 3. Family relationship destruction. When love turns to resentment. It always starts with love. Dorothy was 76 when she moved into her daughter Melissa's home. Melissa insisted, said she wanted to care for her mother the way her mother had cared for her. And Dorothy, still active and sharp, agreed. "We'll get more time together," she thought. For the first few months it was warm. Shared tea in the afternoons, old family albums, laughter echoing in the hallway. But then came the friction. Small things at first. Dorothy liked her tea with milk. Melissa made it black. Dorothy woke up early. Melissa slept in. Dorothy offered advice on parenting. Melissa didn't want it. Soon they began avoiding each other. Every little thing felt like a critique. Dorothy felt unwanted in her own daughter's home, while Melissa felt suffocated in her own kitchen. Within a year, they barely spoke. Dorothy told a friend, "I feel like I'm walking on eggshells in my daughter's house. I raised her to be strong, and now I'm scared of her strength." And Melissa, in a moment of exhaustion, admitted to her husband, "I love my mom, but I didn't sign up for this. She's everywhere, all the time." This is the hidden emotional toll no one warns you about. Multi-generational households can offer love and support, but they can also breed resentment, tension, and role confusion. The boundaries blur. The adult child becomes a caretaker, the parent becomes dependent, and old wounds can resurface quickly in tight quarters. Psychologists often refer to this dynamic as role reversal stress. The child, now managing responsibilities and decisions for their parent, can feel trapped or overwhelmed. Meanwhile, the parent, used to being the caretaker, feels useless, disrespected, or in the way. What once was a nurturing relationship becomes transactional. Can you watch the kids? Don't touch the thermostat. Why did you rearrange the pantry again? And eventually, both sides begin counting sacrifices instead of memories. Actionable advice. One of the most loving things you can do for your family is to preserve your role as a parent, not morph into a dependent housemate. This doesn't mean cutting ties. It means maintaining space, live separately, visit often, be present without becoming permanent. That's how relationships flourish with age. Set boundaries early, communicate honestly, and understand that emotional closeness doesn't require physical proximity. If help is needed, like grocery delivery, medication reminders, or companionship, look into third-party services. Let professionals handle care so you can focus on being family, not another item on your child's to-do list. Because no parent wants to become a burden, and no child wants to resent the person who raised them. Dorothy eventually moved into a senior community just 15 minutes away. Now she visits Melissa every Sunday for brunch. They laugh again. The tension is gone. The bond, once strained, is healing. Sometimes the best way to keep love alive is to love each other from a healthy distance. Section 4. Health decline, the physical cost of disruption. Walter had always been strong for his age. At 79, he walked every morning, cooked his own meals, and even managed his blood pressure better than most men 10 years younger. But everything changed when he moved in with his son's family across the country. The new city had a colder climate. His doctor was no longer nearby. The local food tasted different, and the house didn't have the same quiet routine he was used to. There were kids running around, late-night TV noise, unfamiliar stares, and very little structure. Within weeks, Walter started missing meals. His medication schedule got off track. He stopped walking altogether, partly from discomfort, partly because he didn't want to get in the way. By month 3, his blood pressure spiked. He felt dizzy. He fell once in the hallway. Then came the hospital visit, and the slow realization that something was breaking down, not just physically, but emotionally too. Walter's story isn't rare. Relocating at an older age, especially into a child's household, can be a massive shock to the body and mind. According to Dr. Michael Fenster of the Mayo Clinic, for seniors, abrupt changes in living environments can disrupt circadian rhythms, eating patterns, medication adherence, and stress levels, all of which directly impact long-term health. This doesn't mean older adults can't adapt, but the stakes are higher. Small disruptions can have a domino effect. Missed medications lead to unmanaged conditions. Lack of privacy leads to poor sleep. Emotional stress leads to weakened immunity. Unfamiliar environments increase fall risk. Even the layout of a new home can present danger. Most homes aren't designed with senior mobility in mind. Narrow hallways, slippery floors, poor lighting. Add to that the stress of feeling like you're intruding, and the toll becomes more than physical. Actionable advice. If you're considering a move after 70, make health stability your top priority. That means staying in environments where your routines are protected. Same doctor, familiar grocery stores, safe, quiet neighborhoods, predictable schedules. If living alone is no longer ideal, consider in-home care services instead of relocating. These services can provide medical support, housekeeping, even companionship, without disrupting your entire lifestyle. Another option? Look into senior-focused communities that are designed for both safety and autonomy. Many now offer wellness centers, fitness classes, emergency response systems, and nutrition programs tailored to chronic condition management. Walter eventually moved into a single-level apartment near his original neighborhood. With a walker-friendly design and daily check-ins from a nurse, his health began to rebound. More importantly, he got back his rhythm, waking up when he wanted, preparing meals he liked, and walking again, one slow step at a time. Because when you're older, health isn't just about treatment, it's about environment. And protecting that environment could be the difference between thriving and simply surviving. Section 5. Legal vulnerability when trust turns into exploitation. Elizabeth was 81 when she moved in with her youngest son, Daniel. After her husband passed, she felt it made sense. Downsizing, saving money, and being close to family. Daniel was charming, persuasive, and promised to take care of everything. He said all the right things. "You don't need to worry about bills anymore, Mom. Just relax. I've got you." At first, it felt like love in action, but slowly things began to shift. Elizabeth noticed that her pension wasn't hitting her bank account anymore. Daniel had convinced her to make their joint account the primary one, for convenience. Then came the day he asked her to sign some papers. Legal jargon she didn't fully understand. "Just some insurance stuff," he said with a smile. Months later, Elizabeth discovered that the deed to her home, the one she had rented out to support herself, was no longer in her name. It had been transferred quietly, legally, with her signature, but without her full awareness. What happened to Elizabeth wasn't an isolated case. In fact, elder law attorneys report a sharp rise in financial abuse, most of it committed by family members, not strangers. And the abuse doesn't always look like theft. It often wears the mask of care, of trust, of someone just trying to help. When you move in with your adult children, you may unintentionally hand over more than just your house keys. You may give away your autonomy, your legal power, without even realizing it. It often starts small: a shared credit card, access to online banking, a signature here and there. Over time, the lines blur, and by the time you notice something is wrong, the damage is done. Power of attorney documents, for instance, are meant to protect you, but when handed over without limits or legal oversight, they can be misused. A trusted child can sell property, withdraw savings, or make major life decisions, all in your name. Elizabeth tried to get her house back, but the legal battle dragged on. The stress affected her health. Worse, her relationship with Daniel fractured beyond repair. She moved out, heartbroken, feeling betrayed by the very person she thought she could rely on most. But it doesn't have to be this way. Before making any legal changes, especially involving property, money, or shared accounts, consult an elder law attorney, not just any lawyer, an elder law specialist who understands the nuances of aging, vulnerability, and long-term protection. Keep your financial and legal documents private. Never sign anything under pressure. If someone says it's just a formality, that's exactly when you should pause. You can accept help without giving up control. Use written agreements. Keep property titles in your name. And set clear legal boundaries, even with family. Because the greatest protection isn't trust alone. It's informed trust, backed by safeguards in the law. Elizabeth now lives in a senior co-housing community where every major decision is hers and hers alone. She's not afraid to accept help, but she's no longer afraid of losing herself in the process. And that's the difference between being cared for and being controlled. Conclusion and final thoughts. So let's take a breath and reflect on what we've uncovered. Moving in with your adult children might sound like a loving, practical decision, but as we've seen, it can quietly unravel your independence, your health, your finances, and even your most cherished relationships. We began with Frank and Elaine, whose financial security disappeared within months of moving in. Then Victor, who lost his spark and sense of self in a home that wasn't his own. Dorothy and Melissa, who went from warm companions to resentful housemates. Walter, whose health spiraled due to stress and a disrupted routine. And Elizabeth, who lost not just her property, but her trust. These stories are real, and they're more common than we'd like to admit, but they aren't shared to scare you. They're here to empower you, because you still have a choice. You can choose to protect your savings, your space, your schedule, and your sanity. You can seek out living arrangements that honor your autonomy while keeping you safe and supported. You can surround yourself with love without surrendering your life. Start today. Consult an elder law attorney. Research senior living communities in your area. Have honest conversations with your family before any major decision is made. Most importantly, remind yourself, accepting help should never mean giving up control. You've built a life of strength, of wisdom, of experience. You deserve to continue living it on your terms. And if this message hit home, even just a little, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you care about. Like it, subscribe for more, and join the conversation in the comments. We want to hear your story. Have you ever felt pressured to move in with your children? What's your biggest concern about making that decision? Your experience could be the very thing that helps someone else make a better choice. Because in the end, growing older should feel like coming into your own, not disappearing into someone else's life.